Some of you know I'm just coming back from a retreat. I got back a few days ago. And at the end of retreat, they kind of reminded or warned us about coming back into the non-retreat world. They said you're going to be much more sensitive than you expect. And that was true, but also I didn't expect how quickly I would be sucked right back into the patterns of my old life. I sort of, you ever like take a shower, but you don't dry off enough and then you put on jeans? It's like I didn't transition well. And so now I have this weird, like, sort of moist situation going on. Sorry for people who don't like that word. While I was there, I thought of you all so much. So I was learning so much and I wanted to bring it back to all of you. But because when you're on retreat, part of noble silence means that you can't write things down. I'm still waiting for things to like distill. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm still kind of in a personal place about it, more than more like a studies place. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me. So I was on retreat. Lots of very familiar stuff going on. It took a long time for me to settle into sitting. And then I started to see the classics, right? Thinking about food, thinking about what I'm going to do next. And over time, that stuff kind of faded away. And then I started thinking about cultural criticism. I was like, what is a contemporary feminist take on The Princess Bride? And then I would do trying to remember all of song lyrics. Like I used a lot of meditation time trying to remember all the words of the verses to Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. And then as I get deeper into it and that stuff starts to go away, I noticed the real classics. Am I a good person? Can people love me when I'm like this? What could I do that would make people love me? Maybe this? And then catching myself and beginning again. So I was really lucky to be in retreat with one of my favorite teachers, Brian Lesage. And he shared this passage with us from the psychologist. He studies the intersection of Buddhism and psychology, Jack Engler. It's pretty dense, so I'm going to go slowly, but it kind of knocked me out, so I will share it with you. So Engler writes, enlightenment can be imagined as a heaven-sent embodiment of a core Western narcissistic ideal. A state of personal perfection from which all our badness, all our faults and defilements have been expelled. A state in which we finally become self-sufficient, not needing anyone or anything, above criticism and reproach, and above all, immune to further hurts and disappointments. Describing this way that Westerners sometimes take on the practice. He says, practice can be motivated in part by this secret wish to be special, if not superior. Enlightenment will finally elicit the acknowledgement and admiration that have been lacking. Wow. Very glad I've let go of that fantasy. Good thing I don't practice like that anymore. Except a retreat was held in an ashram, and the ashram is home to a Hindu community, and they have all these truly gorgeous, inestimably expensive statues and photographs of their guru. And there's these massive paintings of the guru's glowing, beautiful, loving face. And then pictures of everyone standing around the guru, so happy to be in his presence. And I would be walking with my bowl of lentils through the ashram, and I would catch in my mind myself being like, yeah, that's the life. Guru never wonders if he's a good person. Guru knows. He never worries what he has to do to make people love him. All people do is love him all day. I would catch myself fantasizing about being the guru, imagining people being so inspired by me that they just want to create this beautiful art and take photos of people looking at me adoringly, and like framing copies of my letters because they're so full of wisdom. So that's embarrassing. Even to catch yourself thinking things like that is embarrassing. Like I was embarrassed to be with myself. Most of the actually wisest people I know, I'm pretty sure, do not want to be the guru. Do you? Yeah. See, I was right. And so I'm like, is it perhaps my fantasy of being the guru that keeps me from being qualified to be the guru? Is that what keeps me unqualified from being lovable at all? Am I a good person? Can people love me when I'm like this? What could I do that would make people love me? Maybe this? And here we are again. Every time I fall into this cycle, I fully believe in my absolute uniqueness. Other people may struggle with unworthiness, but they're actually totally worthy. And we all know that, at base, their sense of unworthiness is very quaint. But I alone am actually unlovable and actually unworthy. I'm the one dreaming of being the guru like a narcissist freak. And also when I go on retreat and even, when I sit with you, I get these little invitations to the possibility that I am not actually unique in that way. Now, I hope that you never worry that you're not enough. I hope that you never worry that you're unlovable. But if you don't, I suspect that you are a cat. These cats are the only beings that I've ever met who seem very certain and have no doubt that they are worthy and lovable. See, there's maybe some cats sneaking in here. But good, be a cat. May your happiness increase if you are one. But when I am with non-cats, I start to maybe consider that I am not actually the only one who feels this way. And so our teacher, Brian Lesage, shared that passage with us about the narcissistic Western ideal with a lot of compassion for the desire to be special, and special in a way that exempts us from this particular pain. And one of the most powerful teachings I received on my retreat was this: it's not going to happen. Your badness, defilements, and faults will not be expelled. You will not become self-sufficient. You will not be above reproach. You will never be immune to hurt and disappointment. You will not become special or superior. You will not be seen and loved in the way that you long to be seen and loved. That's the good news, brothers and sisters. It's not going to happen. You're free. You do not have to figure out how to do it anymore because it's not going to happen. The Buddha used the analogy of a rabbit with its foot caught in a snare. It's caught, yes, but it's caught in a cycle. Imagine that the rabbit's foot is caught and it runs around and around and around the snare, with the snare cutting into its foot as it runs and runs and runs. It thinks it sees freedom. It thinks it can get away, but it's just running in a circle with its foot still caught in the snare. I know that there are people, maybe even in this room, to whom this sounds like a serious bummer. But to me, it is nothing short of liberation. I spend so much of my sits, and if I'm honest with you, my life, running around in circles. Am I a good person? Can people love me when I'm like this? What can I do that would make people love me? Maybe this? What if there is something else to do with my one wild and precious life? This is why Pema Chodron writes, abandoning hope is an affirmation, the beginning of the beginning. The beginning of the beginning, when I can stop chasing the love or approval or goodness that will finally make me whole, I can begin. I do believe this, not with the same part of me where I believe I'm uniquely unlovable. I believe this in my bones. Although believing has not made it happen. After the Dharma talk, where Brian Lesage told us it isn't going to happen, I turned that teaching over and over in my mind during walking meditation, instead of feeling mindfully the feeling of walking. And I could taste the different flavor of freedom that he was talking about, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't get there. And I had my chance to speak with the teacher after the talk, and I spent a lot of time during walking meditation, instead of feeling the feeling of walking, trying to find out the right question to ask that would make the most of my chance to speak to the teacher and get me closer to that freedom. And I watched myself do that. And I saw the other thing I was doing, which was I was trying to formulate a very good question. Sure, for my own freedom, but also to convey to this teacher, who I find so wise, what a very able student of the Dharma I really am. I was fantasizing about him, thinking my question was so good that he would want to talk to me after the retreat. Maybe he'd even take me on as a student. Am I a good person? Can people love me when I'm like this? What could I do that would make people love me? So when it was my turn to talk to the teacher, I just told him. I told him how I wanted to ask such a good question about abandoning hope, how I was hoping that I would ask such a good question about abandoning hope that I would reveal myself to be special, even superior. I told him about how I knew that his teacher had started mentoring him when he was 24, and now he was this great teacher, and I wanted that to happen to me too. And he looked at me very compassionately and said, yeah, it's easy to get stuck in that. And I said, yeah, I'm stuck in it. And he said, he kind of like shook his head and he was like, it's all about love, isn't it? And I said, yeah. And then it was quiet. And then my turn was over. And that was a very good teaching. For a minute, it was like somebody hit me on the head with a cast iron pan. And that was all the truth I needed. And then I actually felt quite wise. Like I got it. The feeling of getting it. And even what I actually thought I had got didn't last very long. And soon all that was left was this very good feeling. And so I walked unmindfully back to sitting practice in a very good mood. And I blissed out on my little cushion with renewed ardence. And it was about 10 minutes before I noticed myself thinking, am I a good person? Can anybody love me when I'm like this? What could I do that would make people love me? And that night, the teacher shared something from a Roshi in the Zen tradition that had been said to him. I'm going to go slowly because it's Zen and you know how they are. When your mind and heart are not full of the Dharma, you feel complete. But when your mind and heart are full of the Dharma, you do not feel complete. When your mind and heart are not full of the Dharma, you feel complete. But when your mind and heart are full of the Dharma, you do not feel complete because the Dharma tells the truth. This is what it's like. Longing to be whole, longing to be loved is how I am. It's how it is. This longing itself. Sharing that longing with my teacher gave me a moment of freedom. It didn't make me good. It didn't make me loved. It didn't make me whole. It just made me free for a moment. My mind and heart were full of the Dharma, and I did not feel complete. And that felt free. But then I decided I had learned something. I decided I got it now. I had a delusion of completeness, and just like that, I was caught again. And now I'm talking to you. And now I'm telling you this series of embarrassing stories. And like, for a minute, I'm free again. I'm not good. I'm not loved. I'm not whole. I'm definitely embarrassed. And I'm free. Please sit with me for a minute.